This conference will now be recorded.
So yesterday we started with the basics. The main thing to start with the Salesforce platform development, we should know about the Apex programming language. That is the key thing. That's the foundation to learn the further things. Okay. So we are understanding about the Apex programming language. The first thing is it is case insensitive, meaning whenever whatever the tokens we use, right? For example, the keyword, the identifiers. So whatever we mention in the statements, those are case insensitive. For example, if I give everything in capital, the string, still it will work. Let's say here I have defined the variable as first name. Maybe if I refer with some other case, still it will work. Okay. So let's say if I refer like this, still it will work. Okay, that's the meaning of the case insensitive. So not about the values, about the tokens which we include when you write the program. That point we have to know. Okay, so now we are understanding about the different types of statements. One of the key type on day to day when you write any program, we deal with the memory statement. We allocate the memory to hold the data, the input data, output data, whatever we deal. So while allocating memory, every time instead of allocating the same kind of memory, based on the type of data what we deal, if you mention, system will take care of allocating only that much memory, so that memory will be utilized in a proper way. Okay, all we need to do, we need to know about the data types available for the Apex programming language. So these are the data types available. Okay, and whenever we want to allocate memory to hold the data, we need to mention which type of data we are dealing and what is the name you want to give for the memory location. Technically, this one we call as identifier or variable. On day to day, we call this as variable. Here, first name is a variable to hold the first name of a person, last name to hold the last name of a person. So all these things, just as an example, we define. Okay. Now, so already we know the syntax. I want to explain. So what are the naming conventions we need to follow? So there are two things. So one is indentation. Indentation means even though you don't follow, technically nothing will happen, right? So these are like standards. Standards as a experienced developer. All experienced developers follow some standards. Even though you don't follow, still it will work. Okay. So one of the standard is, you know, the variable name, whatever the variable name we give. For all the variable names, we follow the camel case. Should be in camel case. Camel case means starts with the small letter, right? My first is one more word, right? We start with the small letter. After that, each and every word, we start with the capital letter. Okay, so this we call as camel case. If you observe here, wherever I am defining the variables, I am starting with the small letter. If there are multiple words, I am just for second word, third word, for all those things, I am giving the capital. If there are no multiple words, directly can give, right? So start with small letter and so no need to use that. So this is the standard. Most of the times, all the developers follow. Okay, if you follow, it is good. If you don't follow, also it will work. But someone sees your code, they'll say, so it's not from the experienced developer. Okay. The next thing, give the variable names as something meaningful. Give the meaningful variable names. Okay. If you say X, do you know what I'm going to store? We don't know, right? X, A, B, C, X, Y, Z. We don't know what exactly we are going to store. If I say like this, do you know what we are going to store? Some number. Maybe we are going to store some number, right? People can easily recognize, right? Let's say if I give like this, we know we are going to store some city information, right? So all these are some meaningful things. Wherever it is possible, we have to give the meaningful names. Okay, if you feel, right? So let's say I have something like this: final USD USA account amount, something like this. If you have something bigger, if you want to hold, so it is becoming big, right? So at least, right, just give a few things, right? So US account amount, right? So at least with the short forms, people can identify and understand what we are going to store. Okay, wherever it is possible, give the meaningful names. Okay, so these are some things as part of the indentation. And also, whenever we define the data type should start with capital letter. Okay, anyway, so you will be seeing only one word for all the data types. So if you observe here on top, wherever I am defining the data types, I'm starting with the capital letter, right? So Boolean, integer, right? So whatever you define, follow those standards. And going forward, we'll also discuss about few more standards, right? This is too early based on what we wrote so far, based on what we added so far. These are the standards we have to follow. Okay, so going forward, I'll add few more standards. Okay, now the next thing, naming conventions. We have to follow this, right? The variable, right? Variable names. I can say variable names. I'll say valid variable names. Okay, so if you don't follow this, system will throw error. Right? Error means the syntax error. Syntax means whatever the statement we write, that is not as per the syntax what the Apex language is expecting. Okay, so it won't allow to save if there is a syntax error. Okay, so let's say one of the point, variables can have numbers, but it should not start with number. That is one thing. So let's say integer, this is invalid, it will throw error. So let's see, we can also quickly test it, right? So for this, all you need to do, once you log into Salesforce, go to setup and open developer console. Once we open the developer console, click on debug. The first option, open execute anonymous window. Quickly define and test, right? Integer, I'm giving like this. Try to execute. It will throw error if there is a problem with the syntax, right? Unexpected token 1. It's not allowing to execute because there is a syntax problem. But if you give like this is correct. Just this is to validate the syntax is correct or not, right? So integer number 1, this is valid. Okay. The next thing, variables should not have special characters except underscore, but it should not start with underscore. That's the rule. Okay, so let's say integer invalid. This is invalid. When you say integer number 1, number underscore 1, this is valid. Okay, same thing. If you try to execute here, let's say here I'm using, will throw error, right? Invalid character in identifier. If you give some special character also, it will throw error, right? Only underscore is acceptable, but it should not start with the underscore. Okay, these are some rules. So we should have some idea, and based on that, we have to define. Okay. The next thing, variables should not have spaces. Okay. Let's say integer number 1. It is invalid, right? It is invalid. Variables should not have the spaces. Okay. Without spaces, if you add, it will work. So just understand about that. So now let's go back. Click on debug. So click on execute. Sorry, I think go back. And here we are just verifying the space, right? Let's give space and execute. It should not allow. Without space, it will allow. Okay. So and also variable name should not be the keyword. Variable name should not be the keyword, right? If I say integer null, null means that is a keyword. Null means nothing is there. We should not use keywords as a variable, right? This is invalid. Just verify, right? So I'm just giving null, right? Execute. It's throwing error. I cannot use this one as boolean. Boolean is a keyword. Okay. So if you append something for that null one, something like this, if I give, it will work. Okay, that is not a keyword. So for sure we have to follow, otherwise we will see the error. Okay, so follow the indentation, follow these rules, so that you will be good. Okay, already we discussed how we can define some of the memory statements. But what I am saying, so far whatever we discussed, all these are the all these are the primitive data types, right? Primitive means technically we call as call by value. Okay, so call by value means, so when we say integer is, okay, system allocate the memory, and whatever the value we assign, that value directly will be assigned to that memory. Okay, call by value means with these data types, with any one of this primitive data type, when you define a variable, system allocates some memory, right? When we assign some value into that, directly in the memory what system allocated into that, this value will store. So that is called by value. Okay, but when you deal with the non-primitive data types, I'll list out what are the non-primitive data types available. So when we say non-primitive data type, we say call by reference. Okay, meaning is it is not going to store the value directly into the memory what it allocates. Okay, so let me list out the non-primitive types and so that you will understand. So one of the type is, you know about the standard objects and the custom objects in Salesforce, right? Standard objects, custom objects are nothing but the database tables, right? So all the standard objects, the custom objects, we can consider as non-primitive data types, right? Either the standard or the custom objects we can consider as non-primitive data type. We also have S object, that is also non-primitive, but this is generic to hold either standard or custom object information. Okay, here people ask, what is the difference between object and S object? Object is, it can accept any value, even non-primitive value also it will accept, everything it will accept. But this S object is generic to hold either standard object record or custom object information. Okay, that point we have to know. And going forward, we write some FX programs. We say FX classes. Okay, FX class is also a non-primitive data type. So when we start creating that class, that time we'll understand about it. Okay. So for now, when we say these are the non-primitive data type, so let's take one standard object. Let's say you know about account, right? In Salesforce, account is nothing but the company information. All the company's information will be stored into the account, one of the standard object. Let's say we have account database table. Okay. In that account database table, I want to insert one row, right? I want to insert one row into the account database table. So what we do, we create instance. So this is a syntax, right? Data type and the variable name. Okay. So, but when you deal with the non-primitive data type, system cannot directly allocate the memory. Okay. For the primitive data types, if you say integer and if you mention something, system will allocate the memory and directly you can store the value. But for non-primitive data type, whenever we define like this, it just create a reference. Okay, so basically it cannot directly store the value. Okay, this can hold only the reference. Reference means the location where the data is present. The data will be somewhere in the memory. What is the location of that data in the memory? That location will be stored into this. Okay, so that's why when we deal with the non-primitive data type, any non-primitive data type, if you want to assign the value, what we need to do, for sure, we need to allocate the reference by using new operator. Okay, so new, so account. This is like we are creating one row into the account table. This creates one empty row. This is the memory system allocate. This holds the memory to hold one row in the account table. But when we assign this one to this variable, what here it will hold, where this memory is allocated, where this memory is allocated to store the data, that location it will hold. Okay. So, but when you deal with the non-primitive type, whatever we define directly, we can assign value, whatever you want, right? But here for non-primitive type, it cannot hold the direct value. It can only hold the memory location where the data present. Okay. So that's why for all non-primitive types, we have to allocate the memory by using new operator like this, and understand this holds only the location where this data present. Okay, so that's the difference. Okay, only for you to make it very easy, if you don't want to take the headache of remembering all these things, when you deal with the primitive type, directly you can define the variable and you can assign the value. But for non-primitive type, when you define a variable, you have to create the instance by using new operator, then only we can assign the value. Okay, so more about this, discuss. Okay, more about this we discuss going forward. For now, even though you did not understand 100%, fine. Okay, because in future we take even better example and understand. Okay, this is too early to even discuss more about this. Okay, so that's about this, the data types available. Okay, so more about this, once we understand more basics, we'll come back and discuss about these non-primitive types. Okay, so now we are done with this. Before we start with the other type of statements, so any questions, anyone so far about the data types, primitive data types, non-primitive data types? Account, this will hold the address where this memory is allocated.
So it will be the same as primitive only.
So primitive, this will hold direct data. Direct 50, whatever I am assigning, it will hold.
But the reference variable will be the address type.
Yeah, this reference, right? I cannot, if you see here, I am assigning value, right? I cannot assign any value directly to this. First, we need to create this instance. Let's say this is like one row in the table, right? Through this reference, this is the reference where the empty row is generated. Through this reference, when you say one row, we have to populate multiple cells in that row, right? Let's say account means account name, account industry, rating, so maybe number of employees, some of the fields, right? What we have to say, through reference, now here we store the value, right? So same thing, I cannot say ACC is equal to Amazon, right? I cannot do that. So for sure, we have to create the instance and have the reference where this empty row is generated. Through that reference, each and every cell in that row we populate, right? So because here, when you say one row, it is not one value. One row will be having multiple values, right? When you open the Excel, when you try to fill one of the row, in each and every cell, we need to fill the value, right? Directly one value we cannot assign. So that's why it is like this. Okay. So more about this we'll see going forward. Okay. This is too early to discuss more on this. Okay. I'm fine even though you did not understand this for now. Okay. So once we complete these things and some basics, then we'll more focus on these things. Okay. So the next thing what we
I
are
have
going to
one
understand. Yeah.
Between object and subject, as you mentioned, object we can it can hold any value, and also it can hold a record from standard as well as custom object, right?
Yeah. Anything it can hold.
Yeah. Then still, why we are going with some cases as subject?
So S object cannot hold integer value, right? So let's say S object, I want to store some date and some integer value, it won't support. Okay, and when you keep in the S object, it is easy to convert. Converting S object into either standard object or custom object is easy because it is also in the table format. When you keep in the object, it is very complicated to convert that into this standard or custom. Okay, that's why we use the S object. Okay. So more about this
Sir,
with the
sir,
other
he is
examples.
actually trying to say
Yeah.
if we have. So actually, he is trying to say that if we have object to store standard, both standard and custom objects or any other information, why do we need S object in that case?
So that's
If we
what
can
I'm saying.
store it in object. Yeah.
Yeah. In object,
Why
if
do we
you
need
store
S object if we store it in object? Yeah.
in object, if you want to again convert that back into one of the specific standard object or custom object format, the process is very difficult. Okay. So when you keep in the S object, it is very easy. We have many standard options to easily convert this S object back into either the standard object or custom object. Due to that reason, okay, there are advantages. Okay, so there are some methods available by default. I think if I again talk more, still we don't know the basics, it will be confusing. Okay, so there is a advantage. Okay, about that we'll see when we really dealing with some advanced examples. Okay, so any other questions? Okay. Yeah, if you don't have any questions, please by default stay on mute. Okay. So the next thing is about the arithmetic statements. Okay. When you write a program on day to day, we deal with these arithmetic statements. Okay. So let's understand about this. Okay. One of the most arithmetic statement what we use on day to day is about the assignment. Okay. Assignment operator. Assignment. You can say this arithmetic or logical statements. So one of the thing which we use is the assignment operator on day to day. Okay, so the purpose of the assignment operator, assignment means equal to, is to assign the value. Okay, so when you have a variable, already we declared many variables. So let's say I'm saying integer amount is equal to, let's say I'm saying 3000. Okay, so now the meaning is the right side value whatever we have, we are assigning to this memory whatever we allocated. Okay, let's say here I have one more variable, final amount. If I say final amount is equal to amount, what is the meaning? Whatever the value present in the amount, we are assigning to final amount, right? So it's not that it will only transfer the value present in this memory into this. Okay, so like that, always to assign the right hand side value to left hand side value, we use this equal to operator. Okay, the next one, the arithmetic operators. Okay, so arithmetic operators, we have many arithmetic operators, right? Plus, minus, equal to, star means multiplication, all those things. Again, here we can classify this into few more different categories. People say unary operator, people say binary operator. So what is that? When we call unary operator, when we call binary operator, when we call ternary operator, we should know. Okay, on day to day when you deal with the programs. Okay, so let's say we have a number. Okay, let's say integer count is equal to initially 0. If you want to increment this value by 1, what we do? We have to say count is equal to count plus 1. That means 0 plus 1. Right? Again, if you want to add again. So there is a short form. Instead of writing this much, So on day to day, what we see. So like this, if you use, people say it is a unary operator, one variable and one operator. Okay, so the meaning of this one is every time it will increment by 1. Internally, the meaning of this one is count is equal to count plus 1. Okay, in the same way, count minus minus. Okay, and say count is equal to count minus 1. That's the meaning. Okay, to deal with these kind of scenarios, we deal with the unary operator. On day to day, we see these things. So that's why we should aware of this one. Okay. The next one is binary operator. Okay, binary operator means, let's say here, says that we have integer number 1, we have maybe 100, number 2, we have 500, and the number 3, we have 700, something like this. Right? Maybe I also maybe have a result, one of the variable. If I say result is equal to number 1 minus number 2 multiplied by number 3, even though we have many values, many operators, right? Even it can be a bigger expression. Even though we have the huge expression, what will happen internally? System will only deal with the 2 values at a time. Do the calculation. So whatever the result is there, right? Some result, whatever is there, again it will deal with these 2 expressions. So like that it will do. Okay, so even though we have this huge expression, system internally binary means 2, right? It deals with the 2 values and 1 operator at a time. So this we consider as binary operator. Okay, and also when we give this, first which will what will happen? First it will multiply number 2 and number 3, and after that it will subtract from number 1, or maybe first it will subtract number 2 from number 1, and after that it will multiply. How we know? So there is a operator precedence. Okay, we have to see the documentation and understand for which operator system give more priority. Let's say system is giving priority for star first. So first this multiplication will happen. Whatever the result is there, that will be subtracted from number 1. Let's say I don't know. I don't want to spend time on knowing that. So that time what we do, all I want to multiply these 2 and subtract from number 1. Okay, we give brackets and separate. Okay, even though we don't know about the operator precedence, now we are clear. Within the bracket, whatever we have, that will be calculated separately. That result it will subtract from the number 1. So let's say I want first subtract these 2 and multiply. Then you can give like this. Okay. So these are some of the examples of the binary operator. On day to day, we see these kind of expressions. Okay. So that's about that. And the next one is about the ternary operator. Okay. Ternary operator means dealing with the 3, right? 3 values, 3 expressions. So here, how exactly it works? We give a condition. If the condition is true, whatever you want to execute, that expression, the true expression we give here. If the condition is false, colon, the false expression we give here, right? So like that. So if you see here, we have 3 expressions and 2 operators, right? So if this condition is true, it will execute this part. If this condition is false, after colon whatever is there, that will be executed. Okay, so just understand these kind of things. Okay, so for example, with the above scenario, if I say number 1 is greater than number 3 question mark. This is the condition. Number 1 is 100, number 3 is 700. It is going to fail, right? Okay. So now I'm going to give number 2 value as, right, number 3 because that is bigger. Okay. Else, right, if number 1 is greater than number 3, that time let's say I want to add number 1 which is bigger. Otherwise, so number 2 should be the number 3 which is bigger. Okay, now if you see how it will work, 100 greater than 700, no, false. It will execute this. Here number 3 is 700. 700 will be assigned to number 2 and we see that result. Okay, maybe to really verify. Okay, so copy this. So go to this tool. Okay, developer console, debug, open, execute, anonymous. Define all these variables. Now we have these 3 variables, right? So now this is the condition we are keeping, right? So now after executing this, I want to know what is the value of the number 2, right? System.debug to print in the console. To print in the log. Okay. So here we get to know what is the value. Now number 2 should be, as per our understanding, it should be 700, right? So execute. And the thing is, here this, I'll say number 2 is equal to, we'll be returning this expression. Okay. So I'm just, if number 1 is greater than number 3, so that time it will be, the value will be number 1 and we are assigning to this. Otherwise number 3 we are assigning to that. Okay. So execute. So system spelling is wrong. Okay, execute. Now, if you want to see only what we are printing, you need to click on debug only, and if you see it is 700, right? So now what I'll do, I am giving this one as 900, right? Now what will be the number 2 value? This time it will enter, it will take this one, right? And now number 2 will be 900, right? So just again, let me execute one more time. It's loading the log. Now if you see it is 900, right? So like that. So like that we can play with the scenarios. Okay. So number 2. This is an example of the ternary operator. Okay. So the next thing is about the arithmetic assignment operator. Okay. Arithmetic assignment operator means we use the combination of both arithmetic operator and assignment operator. Okay. So let's say, assume that we have these 2 numbers. Okay. So if I say number 1 plus equal to number 2, right? You see people writing like this. So when someone write like this, if you see this is the arithmetic operator and this is the assignment operator, the internal meaning of this one is number 1 is equal to number 1 plus number 2. They are adding number 1 and number 2 and assigning the result to number 1. So that's the meaning. Okay. So same thing. So maybe here go to this debug. So we have these variables assigned, right? Number 100, number 2 500. After this expression, if you see the value of the number 1, that will be 600, right? 100 plus 500, 600, again it will be assigned to this. Okay, so 600. Execute. And click on debug only. And if you see, you are seeing 600, right? So this is one of the example. Maybe in the plus, right? Instead of plus, you can also use minus or star. So whatever you want. So when I say this, what is the meaning? Number 1 is equal to number 1 by number 2. 100 by 500. 100 by 500 will be 0 because integer, right? Integer means it won't hold the decimal values. 0. Now you will be seeing the number 1 value as 0, right? 100 by 500 means 0 point, so maybe something, right? So 0 point, because integer cannot hold decimal, cannot hold decimal digit. Now the result will be 0, right? So click on debug only, you are saying 0, right? Let's say I want exactly the decimal digits also. What you can do, convert this one to mention as a decimal. Now you will see it is 0 point something, right? So click on debug only, it is 0.2, right? So like that. Okay, so just understand these kind of things. That is about the arithmetic assignment operator. The next one is relational operator. Relational operators. Okay, so we have different relational operators. Double equal to, right? Single equal to means assignment. Double equal to means comparison, right? When I say, let's say here, when I say number 1 is equal to number 2, what is the meaning? We are assigning number 2 value to number 1. But if we give double equal to, the meaning is we are comparing. Both are same or not. If both are same, it returns true. If both are not same, it returns false, right? For comparison purpose, we use. Also, we have less than equal to, greater than equal to, not equal to. Not equal to, we also represent like this. Either like this or like this. It's up to you. So whichever you like, you can use. Both gives the same result, same meaning. These are some of the relational operators. So the relational operators will return either true or false after doing the comparison. When I say number 1 equal to number 2, it will be either true or false. When I say number 1 greater than number 2, really if the number 1 is greater than number 2, it returns true. Otherwise it returns false, right? So maybe to understand that. So here I am saying number 1 is equal to number 2. What is the result you will be seeing? Number 100 is equal to 500, no, right? Now the result will be, this result will be false. Okay, so when you write the code, if you don't want to execute some lines, whatever we type, for example, I want to write some comment and I don't want to execute, system should not consider for the syntax. For that we use the // we use the // after the // whatever you write, system won't check for the syntax. You can type whatever you want. It's like that. Okay, here I'm saying the result will be false. Okay, this is just for our understanding, right? We are expecting false here. So when I say greater than, here also false, right? number 100 greater than 500? No, right? So when I say number 1 is less than number 2, 100 less than 500, yes, right? So this time it should be true. Now we are printing these 3 different values. First value should be false, second value should be false, and third one should be true. These are just comments for our understanding, right? So click on execute. And here click on debug only. And if you see false, false, true, you are seeing, right? So like that, to get, we use these relational operators. Okay. Now the next thing, logical operators. We have logical operators. Okay. So why we use these logical operators? If you have many conditions, let's say the requirement is number 1 should be less than number 2, but number 1 should not be 0. I have one more condition. Number 1 not equal to 0. Both should be satisfied. This is one condition, and this is one condition. I want to combine both. If both are satisfied, then only the final result should become true. If anything is failed out of these 2 conditions, it should become false. So when you have these kind of situations, to combine multiple relational conditions, we use the logical operator. Right? How you want to combine? You want to combine with AND or 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 not reverse. You want reverse. So it's up to us based on the requirement. Here we have AND, we have OR, we have not. But in Apex, directly we cannot use AND. Right? Directly I cannot use AND. In Apex, we use this symbol. Right? In Apex program, instead of typing AND, we use this to combine multiple conditions. Or instead of typing OR, we are going to give 2 pipe symbols. Okay. Not means reverse exclamatory symbol. This is what we give. Okay. So maybe for you to understand this one. So I'm just removing these things. Number 1 less than number 2, and I want these 2 conditions should be satisfied, right? I'm giving AND. Like this we combine. Okay, this is one condition, and one more. Both should be true. Then only the final result will be true. So here, do you think both are true? Number 1 is less than, that means 100 less than 500. Yes, true. And number 100 not equal to 0. Yes, true. Right? Both are true. So the final result will become true. It's like that. To deal with these kind of situations, we use this AND, OR, not, and all those things. Okay, for you, maybe in a table to understand different combinations. So what I'm going to take here. Okay, so just I'm taking different conditions here. Okay, number 1 is less than number 2, and number 1 not equal to 0. Both are true, right? This is like true plus true. The final result will become true. So let's write one more statement. So I want this first condition should be true, 100 less than 500, yes. And this should be false, right? I know that number 100 is equal to 0, no, false, right? So when you have like this, what will be the final result? False, right? The same way. Now, so what I want, greater than, right? And like this. Now I know 100 greater than 500, no, false, right? So 500 not equal to 0, true, right? Sorry, maybe 100 not equal to 0, true. The final result will be false, right? So this is how the end will work. Okay, again here I'll say is equal to 0. Now both are false, right? False and false, everything will become false, right? So just to understand, maybe let's execute and see. We have to see true, false, 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 like that, right? So execute. Right? True, false, false, false. This is the example. So when you deal with R, what will happen? Let's see, right? So maybe in the debug, to understand all these things, why we are printing. Okay, so while printing, if you want to give some text, we have to give single quote. Okay, not double quotes. Inside the single quote, we keep text, right? Here, just I want to end logical operator. Okay, in the debug log, first it will print this, and under that you will see all these things. So this is for our understanding. Okay. So now same thing I am copying and pasting. This time, if you deal with the OR logical operator, so all these things I am replacing with, right, OR, right. Same thing I am replacing with OR. Okay, and also here it is more meaningful if you give like this, right? So that easily we can understand. Okay, so here also only end means both should be true, then only it will be true. If any one of the value is false, the final result will be false, right? So that's what. So now let's execute. Now when you execute here, R means any one of the value is true, the final result will be true, right? True or true, right? So both are true, true. Any one is true, the final result will be true, right? This will be true. And here false, true. Since any one of the value is true, final result is true. False, false will become false. So this is about the logical operator, or operator, or logical operator. Okay, now not, right? How we deal with not? Okay, maybe, so whatever this condition is there, I want a reverse of this one. Okay, I'll say not of, I'm keeping this entire thing in a bracket. Now here it is true, the final result is true. Now here we have to see false. Okay, it gives the opposite result. So let's execute and see. Okay, execute. And click on debug only. Now if you see, for end logical operator, right, whatever we are expecting, R means any one of the value is true. Only if both are false, then the result is false, right? So like that. Okay, so just understand that point. Okay. So same thing for your reference, I'm just copying and keeping here for your reference. Okay. So maybe to make it very simple, we are dealing with only two conditions. When you deal with a program requirement, there can be 5 conditions also, right? We combine, how we combine, let's say n, and also r, we add one more, right? So r number 2 is greater than 500, right? There can be many more. Okay, so as soon as you know these basics, all other things you will be getting automatically, right? This is just an example. These two conditions should be satisfied, or If the number 2 is greater than 500, then the final result will become true. Right? If any one of the condition is satisfied, the final result will become true. This will be false, right? 500 greater than 500, no. Right? It is false. But here 100 less than 200, sorry, 100 less than 500, yes. Number 1 not equal to 0, yes. This is true, right? True or false. Final result is true, right? The result will be true. So execute. Yeah, so just in initial phase, you need to play with these things and understand. Okay. So these are maybe some of the examples. Okay, I'm keeping here. Yeah, that's about these arithmetic and the logical operators. On day to day, when you see some existing programs, when you see some statements, you will see all these kind of things. Okay. After we understand these things, I'll show some programs and show you how we can detect which type of statement, why they are writing. Okay. The next thing is about the conditional statements. Okay. Before we start with this, any questions, anyone so far? So any questions?
Sir, are we supposed to follow any naming conventions while declaring the class name?
Sorry, while declaring
Classes. Naming
still,
convention for classes. Yeah.
so class, so still we did not create any class, right? All these are
Yeah.
some
But sir,
statements.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So can we execute the statements without a class, without declaring a class?
So that's what I am doing now, right? If you see, are you seeing?
Yes, sir. That's
Am I writing some class?
Yeah.
All right. So this particular place.
no.
Okay. So here the place what we are opening, debug, right? Debug as a developer. Quickly we can write some statements and execute and see the results. So far, even other people also don't know what is a class, right? So just we are understanding the different statements. How we keep all those things inside one program in a class, we'll see, right? That is the next step, right? So we are just understanding step by step. That's what we are doing. Okay. Yeah. So just we understand these things, and I'll show you how we keep all these statements together in one place and call that. Okay. So that's the next thing. So now let's understand about the conditional statements. Okay, conditional statement means, so when you have some statements, let's say we have 10 statements. I don't want to execute all the 10 statements every time. I want some statements execute only based on some conditions. Only if a particular condition satisfied, I want to execute some set of statements. Otherwise, I want to execute some other set of statements. To conditionally control which statement you want to execute in which scenario, in those kind of situations, we use conditional statements. So one of the easiest way to control the conditional statements is using if. Okay. So if, but if condition, there are many flavors of if conditions. Okay, I'm going to explain about different flavors. People say simple if. Simple if means we just give condition. If the condition is satisfied, we execute some set of statements. Otherwise, we are not going to execute. So that is a simple if. So for example, same thing, we have two numbers. We have if condition. So I'm checking. Number 1 is equal to number 2. Is it satisfied? Right? If it is satisfied, so then I'll say number 1 is equal to number 2. Like, let's say something like this I'm printing in the log. if you see 100 is equal to 500, no, it won't execute. If you execute, you don't see anything printing because that statement, whatever inside the if condition, will never execute because the condition is not satisfied. If the condition is satisfied, right, number 100 less not equal to 500, satisfied, it will enter inside and execute this statement, and we'll see this in the log. Okay, so execute. So click on debug only. Now you are seeing, right, number 1 is equal to number 2. That is wrong. Maybe I am typing. We supposed to give like this, right? Not equal to number 2. So this will work now. Okay, this is one of the example. Okay, let's say if this condition is not satisfied, I want to execute some other set of statements. Let's say if this is not satisfied, I want to execute some other statements. We use else. If else is one of the flavor. If this is not satisfied, I want to execute some other set of statements. Okay, here we'll say number 1 is equal to number 2. Right now, if you execute, we know that both are not same. It will enter here. Let's say if this is failed, I'm also giving this one as 100. Both are not equal, but both are equal, right? It will be failed. It will enter here. Now we will see it is printing number 1 is equal to number 2. Okay. So this one. Okay. So copy, and this is an example for if else. Okay, we say if else. Okay, now in some situations I want to keep on check for many conditions, right? So I want to verify for one more condition, right? So I'll say else if, and I'm checking is number 1 is greater than 0. Now what will happen? Let's say I'm printing like this. Now first it will check 100 not equal to 100, no, right? Both are equal. It will be failed. Next it will check, is the number 100 is greater than 0? Yes, it will execute this one. Okay, so when you have multiple, let's say here I'm checking number 1 is greater than 50. Okay, now what do you think is the result? Here it will fail. Number 1 100 greater than 0, yes, it will print. Do you think it will execute? So when we start newly, people think it will also execute. Else if will work only if this is failed, then only it will check for the next condition. Here if it is satisfied, it will never check for the rest of the other else if or else condition. Okay, even if you have 100 blocks like this, if else if else if else if, out of all those, any one, either if or one of the else if or else condition will be executed. Don't think that so this will execute and this will also execute. That will not happen. Okay, so let's execute. Now this should be the result, right? Execute. Number 1 is greater than 0, right? This is not executed, right? That is how the else if will work. Okay, so the flavor, this we say else if. Okay, any one of the block out of multiple blocks will be executed. Okay, now my next requirement is this is satisfied, I want to execute. Since this is satisfied, I also want to execute this one also. Okay, if you want like that, we keep all the if conditions one after other. Okay. So when you give like this, what will happen? If this is satisfied or not, it won't bother. Still it will check. If it is satisfied or not, it won't bother. Still it will check. Right? So when you have really a situation to check whether irrespective of one of the condition is satisfied or not, if you want to check other condition, we give like this. Now the result you'll see two things. Number one is greater than 0 and the number one is greater than 50. Right? So when you write like this, so people say this is if series. Right? Series of if statements one after other. Right? If you see both are executed. Okay. So as a developer, right, as soon as we know these basics, once we see the requirement, we'll get to know which will be suitable for our requirement. Okay. So if series, say if series. The next one is nested if, right? Inside one if condition, keeping one more if condition, right? So if outer if condition is failed, the inner if condition won't execute, right? So maybe outer condition is satisfied, it will enter and it will verify, and if this is failed, it won't execute. So basically you can also keep if else if, all those things also you can use if you want. Okay, in general when you write like this, people say it is nested if. Okay, so if you know these flavors, we can achieve any kind of requirement. Okay, so this we say nested if. That one. Okay, so now the next thing is about the loops. Since we don't have time, tomorrow we'll discuss about this looping and controlling statements. Okay, so for now, for the demonstrations, right, I'll be sending email about these notes and recording and all those things. Later, how you will get, I'll explain. Okay, once we start the regular sessions. So just you can check your email tomorrow morning. Okay, and you'll get the recording and all these notes. Okay. So before ending today, any questions, anyone? No questions?
Hi, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, like in the if condition, you just mentioned one expression, like number one is greater than 0. Is it like possible to add two expression
Yes, you
in
can
the one
add.
statement?
You can add any number, right? You know how to use the logical operator, right? You can use the complex expression here. Okay.
Complex.
You can also say or, and you can also say number one is greater than maybe something. You can combine with multiple expressions. Okay. As soon as you know this concept, relational operators and the logical operators, we have to make use of those things for these conditional statements. If you see, all these are interconnected, right? We should know about the relational operator. So the relational operators we are using here in the logical operator, but we are combining all these relational conditions, right? And all these relational operators and the logical operators, these things we use in these conditions for the if. Okay, so like that. So if you have understanding on all these things step by step, easily we can do all those things. Okay, we will continue tomorrow for the next set of types of statements. Okay, thank you.